candidate being challenged. The saga surrounding embattled South Suburban politician Tiffany Henyard continues.
Will be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an
Tiffany Henyard, who was once celebrated as the youngest and first female mayor of Dalton, now faces the unraveling of her political career amidst mounting controversies and widespread public dissatisfaction. Initially praised as a beacon of hope for a community in need, Henyard's administration is now marred by accusations of financial mismanagement, corruption, and neglect. These allegations have left constituents disillusioned and deeply frustrated. The optimism that accompanied her historic rise to leadership has swiftly turned into sharp criticism, with residents accusing her of prioritizing personal gain over public service and failing to take responsibility during pivotal moments. Several scandals have significantly eroded faith in Henyard's leadership. Among them are allegations of taxpayer-funded luxury trips and her repeated absence from crucial meetings, including those addressing critical issues like a government shutdown. These actions have amplified public scrutiny, leading many to question her commitment to fulfilling the responsibilities of the role she was elected to serve. Once hopeful about her potential to lead, many residents now view Henyard as disconnected from their struggles and either unable or unwilling to address the pressing challenges facing Dalton. As public discontent continues to grow, Henyard finds herself at the center of widespread calls for her resignation. Critics argue that her leadership has been more focused on consolidating personal power than on addressing the needs of the people who place their trust in her. Adding to the controversy, her administration is now under the looming threat of federal investigations into alleged misconduct, further complicating her already precarious political position. These combined scandals and potential legal challenges cast a dark shadow over her tenure, fueling speculation that her career may be nearing its end. Despite the increasing pressure, Henyard has shown little willingness to step down or directly address the concerns of her constituents. Her refusal to take responsibility for the issues facing her administration and her apparent indifference to public outcry have only deepened the frustrations of the community. What was once seen as a symbol of progress and change has now become associated with dysfunction and unfulfilled promises. Protests and vocal demands for accountability have become commonplace as the community's disappointment continues to grow. The administration's failure to tackle critical issues such as ensuring fiscal stability and providing effective emergency response has only worsened the situation. As Dalton struggles with ongoing challenges, including an insurance crisis and underfunded services, Henyard's inability to deliver strong and effective leadership has further alienated residents. Federal investigations into her administration's conduct continue to intensify, casting even greater doubt on her ability to salvage her legacy. Once a celebrated figure, Henyard now faces the harsh reality of her leadership being defined by scandal and mismanagement. The promise she once represented has been overshadowed by accusations of self-serving governance and neglect. As the calls for her resignation grow louder, the people of Dalton are left questioning whether Henyard can ever regain their trust. The specter of federal inquiries and her plummeting reputation make her political future increasingly unstable. The fragile balance between maintaining public trust and fulfilling the responsibilities of leadership has been shattered. For the people of Dalton, the uncertainty surrounding Henyard's future raises pressing questions. Will she confront the issues plaguing her administration and make a genuine effort to restore confidence among her constituents, or will her time in office be remembered as a cautionary tale of ambition undone by controversy?
Comment from Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Voters here will first head to the polls in February for the primary election, then the
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's recent absences from critical meetings, including an emergency session in Thornton Township to address a severe insurance crisis, have ignited public outrage and renewed widespread calls for her resignation. The insurance lapse has crippled essential services such as senior transportation, food assistance programs, and the operation of government buildings, leaving the community in turmoil. Angry residents and local officials have described Henyard's failure to attend these crucial meetings as a blatant dereliction of duty. One frustrated resident characterized her absence as a slap in the face to those who depend on these vital services. Trustee Chris Gonzalez underscored the gravity of the situation, stating, "We're at a breaking point." Henyard, in her defense, claimed that safety concerns prevented her attendance, but she failed to provide concrete evidence or any notice of credible threats. Her critics, including senior trustee Jason House, countered that no valid justification for her absence was presented. House further emphasized that the board had no choice but to proceed without her in order to prevent further delays. The why business of the village can no longer be postponed, he stated firmly. Public frustration reached a boiling point during protests outside village board meetings, which Henyard also skipped. Residents labeled her leadership as an embarrassment, comparing her time in office to a chaotic reality show rather than a functioning government. Protesters demanded accountability and called for her immediate resignation, accusing Henyard of undermining democratic principles and neglecting her duties as both mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township. Adding to the tension, Henyard has reportedly been attempting to get back on the ballot for township supervisor following a contentious loss in the Democratic caucus held the previous month. Many residents see this effort as hypocritical, given her perceived neglect of her current responsibilities. Critics argue that Henyard's repeated absences go beyond mere political grievances and raise serious legal and ethical concerns. By missing crucial decision-making meetings, she has significantly hindered progress in resolving the township's insurance crisis, which affects hundreds of residents. Trustee Gonzalez did not mince words, stating, "This isn't just politics anymore. This is about people's lives." Henyard's refusal to address tough questions from both trustees and the public has only fueled suspicions that she is intentionally avoiding scrutiny. Many believe that she is fully aware her time in office may be coming to an end, with protests intensifying and calls for accountability growing louder. Henyard's leadership appears to be at a breaking point. Her critics argue that her deliberate neglect and repeated failure to fulfill her responsibilities have irreparably tarnished what was once a promising political career. As the situation deteriorates, the future of Dalton under Henyard's administration remains uncertain.
Nobody likes being manipulated, and when you get here, you know that's
Supporters of Mayor Tiffany Henyard argue that the growing dysfunction in Dalton and Thornton Township under her leadership stems from deeply rooted political rivalries and systemic issues that existed long before her administration. They contend that while Henyard's efforts may not be flawless, they have been consistently undermined by political adversaries intent on seeing her fail. "This isn't just about Tiffany," one supporter stated at a recent township meeting. "It's about a broken system that needs fixing. She's not perfect, but at least she's trying." However, these sentiments have done little to quell the increasing dissatisfaction among the community. Even some of Henyard's once loyal allies are now distancing themselves, citing her mounting legal troubles and scandals as distractions that compromise her ability to serve the people effectively. The controversy intensified during a highly contentious Democratic caucus, where accusations of voter suppression surfaced. State Senator Napoleon Harris and his allies had backed a slate of candidates to challenge Henyard for the position of township supervisor. Both sides exchanged allegations, with Henyard's supporters claiming they were deliberately barred from entering the caucus location. Critics dismissed these claims as hypocritical, pointing to Henyard's own alleged attempts to manipulate the electoral process in Dalton. In response to the caucus results, Henyard filed several lawsuits, labeling the process as illegal and manipulative. However, her detractors argue that these legal actions are less about seeking justice and more about clinging to power. Many residents view Henyard's claims of voter suppression and manipulation with skepticism, seeing them as contradictory to her actions as mayor. Allegations of voter suppression, power grabs, and marginalization under her leadership have cast doubt on the legitimacy of her protests. These electoral disputes have become part of a broader pattern of controversies surrounding Henyard's tenure. Accusations of financial mismanagement, public negligence, and poor decision-making have further fueled skepticism and deepened the divide between Henyard and her constituents. Beyond the election-related conflicts, Henyard's time in office has come to symbolize division within the community. Some view her as a victim of a hostile political system, while others see her as a key enabler of that very system. This polarization has been particularly evident during chaotic public meetings and protests. Henyard's frequent absences or defensive responses have only heightened frustrations. Critics argue that her focus on legal battles and efforts to retain power have diverted her attention from addressing the urgent needs of Dalton and Thornton Township residents. Meanwhile, her supporters maintain that Henyard is facing unfair opposition, which has made it difficult for her to govern effectively. Her detractors, however, claim that her administration has become the very embodiment of the dysfunction her allies blame on others. The resulting atmosphere of mistrust, litigation, and political infighting has left many residents questioning whether Dalton and Thornton Township will ever recover from the ongoing turmoil. The critical issues facing the community remain unaddressed, as the political drama surrounding Henyard continues to dominate, leaving the future uncertain for all involved.
Need some action. Somebody that's actually going to do their job. How about that? Somebody that's come in, work for the people, not themselves.
The growing dysfunction in Dalton and Thornton Township under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership, according to her supporters, is rooted in long-standing political rivalries and systemic issues that predate her administration. They argue that, while Henyard's efforts may not be flawless, they are sincere, and her adversaries have consistently worked to undermine her. This isn't just about Tiffany, one supporter stated at a recent township meeting. It's about a broken system that needs fixing. She's not perfect, but at least she's trying. Despite these sentiments, public discontent continues to mount. Even Henyard's former allies are increasingly distancing themselves, citing her mounting scandals, legal troubles, and perceived failures as distractions that hinder her ability to serve the community effectively. The controversy surrounding Henyard escalated during a contentious Democratic caucus, where State Senator Napoleon Harris and his supporters introduced a slate of candidates to challenge her leadership.